Hello again, YouTube. This is Dr. Kendo, and I'm back with Scribblenauts Unlimited, the object editor commentaries. This is where I create your favorite characters from gaming, movie, TV, and nerd and geek culture related items. And I just create whatever is most popular or most requested in the comments below each week. And so here, we're continuing our FNaF world creations. So obviously, this would be the Adventure Animatronics. And as you can see in the title of this episode and the description, we are doing the Withered Animatronics today. So one good thing is that a lot of these, I think, the Withered, the Phantoms, and basically some things to come can be copied from our old designs of a lot of these characters. And so you can actually see that we've got our old Freddy body right here, just from our regular Adventure Freddy, but now we're adding on a bodybuilder's arm after we basically recolored it because Withered Freddy is a different color. Of course, when I'm using these names, Withered Freddy or whatever, I'm talking about FNaF World's Adventure versions. And so we painted that bodybuilder arm all black and put it down on the Freddy thigh. And so this is actually going to have a bolt in it, B-O-L-T. That's taking the place of some of the animatronic endoskeleton, I guess, inner workings and things like that, those robotic pieces that are inside of them. And so we took moss. You could use probably several things, even another bodybuilder arm if you wanted to, but I'm just doing moss to show you another stamp, and we'll put a screw inside of that. Again, that's like doing a bolt, just showing you other stamps and things that you can use for endoskeleton pieces inside. And so just one notice is that my voice is still a little bit strained. Normally I have a much more present and clearer voice if you're familiar with me, but I have just gone through, really it was a week-long battle with laryngitis, and so it was not good and put me out of commission for quite a while. But you probably noticed we ended off our Withered Freddy adventure design here in Scribblenauts with a twiddle on his shoulder to be one of the wires. Now the real change with the head here, you don't have to do much, but his pupils are a whited out design, I guess. They're not black like that, and so the final stamp here, as you can see, we did run out of stamp space. The final stamp is Hackberry, and that's just going to be for a wire coming out here. So obviously, when I say that's the final stamp, it means that we've run out of stamp space. This game is called Scribblenauts Unlimited, but despite that, the game actually does have stamp space limitations. A stamp is basically any puzzle piece or item that you use to create your whole object as a whole. So hopefully you're noticing that our Adventure Withered CHICA, this design is very similar to our CHICA design, our Adventure CHICA, the original one, but the arms are actually moved horizontally in this T shape, and we've put cattails and rat tails as the wires coming out of the hands. And so most everything is still the same, and you can refer back to the originals episode, which would be episode 140. That'll show you kind of the basis for all of these characters and for how I created them. And so here we go. We're going to go with a head as the source object, color it yellow. You did largely see a lot of this process right here for creating Chica's head back in that episode that I just referenced, which would be the originals, but I've decided to go ahead and show you, since Withered CHICA is the main vast difference, I guess, is of course her wide open mouth. And so with that, we are going to put the letter I right here on the end, and we're going to use this 29-page library arm shape. It's this library arm that's in the bottom middle, and so with that, we're doing it 3 times down here for the bottom jaw. So 2 yellow ones on either side, and then that orangish one for the middle, basically where the beak is. And so then we're going to use an ice cube. You could go with a marshmallow. You could also go with a sugar cube. It really doesn't matter too much, but I like to show off a different stamp this time, and so ice cube it is. And we put those as the kind of the 2 front teeth here in the middle and under the beak. And so the letter I on the other side, of course, these are going to be the 2 prongs and stuff that hold up her mouth. And so I've used this stamp before, but I called it something else, which was a gnasher. You can also call it dentures, but the dentures, these are basically going to serve as the endoskeleton mouth that is inside. You can see with her mouth being so wide open, you can see that endoskeleton, kind of the pieces in there with the teeth. And so we wanted that, and I just copied the ice cube, sugar cube, marshmallow, whatever you want to use, but of course I used an ice cube. I copied that 4 times for the teeth down below, and we're going to put a rectangle back behind the denture teeth for the endoskeleton piece, and a pearl is going to be for the colored part of the eyes, and we'll go ahead with a ball. That's sort of one of the best things I would think for making the most round eyes and still having kind of a small enough shape for a pupil, I guess, because you could use a dot or a pimple, but those are first off, not as round as the ball is, but they will shrink smaller. It's just I'm not sure that they really fully capture the piece that I am looking for here when I do this. And so anytime that you see me creating heads and bodies separately, it's to get more stamp space out of this game, to put more details in and things. But that means you need to go into the scripting like I'm doing here and make sure that your headpiece can be worn on the face like glasses. And so now that we've got that done, we'll go ahead and name this Adventure Withered CHICA head. Of course, I called it ADV for short, and it looks like we've reached the stamp limit once again, so I may not be able to include many more details here. So I'm actually fine if we just kind of leave it like this. You could add another little hair or something like that on the top if you wanted to, whatever detail you feel that you need to add, but I think that that looks good. So we'll move on, and so the next design, of course, is our recolored Adventure Bonnie, but we're going to make a lot of changes for the Withered version. And so you can see all the recolors that we're making. It's just sort of like a more washed out purple color. And so to get around to a lot of the recoloring and things, you need to move a lot of these pieces, you know, the legs and stuff around. You need to move all of that out of the way so that we can get all the pieces colored appropriately. We put on the stamp ball once again, but this is going to be for the buttons on Adventure Withered Bonnie. And so I'm thinking I'm going to try and see what it looks like to copy the golem, the thigh piece of a golem. So you can see this on our Withered Bonnie's thighs, Adventure Withered Bonnie, of course. I'm going to copy that and put it basically on the shins or the legs down below. And so then you've seen to add some kind of withery patterns and stuff, we put chalk. And so this is the chalk material, not the writing piece of chalk or anything like that, or in billiards. And so then I'm going to use a cattail, and this will be for the wires, of course, coming out of Withered Bonnie's left arm. It's to our right, but it's Withered Bonnie's left. And so it's looking pretty good. We're going to do 3 wires, of course, red, white, and blue, patriotic colored wires. But of course, also the left foot of the Withered Bonnie is robotic, so that's why we've got it colored differently than the other foot. And I just put a bodybuilder's arm, just like we did on the Withered Freddy. We put that on the Withered Bonnie as well, for some added withering. So now we can basically just copy our Adventure Bonnie head, and this will do for our Withered Bonnie, just of course recolor it once again. But we did take another head, so copy the head and paste it over there and paint it all black. Put that on smack dab in the middle, and then put a glue down and a stamp right below that. Yes, type in stamp. I'm not talking about a stamp piece, but the actual stamp in Scribblenauts. And so then dot is going to be for the eyes on either side, or the eye holes, I should say, rather, because this definitely Withered Bonnie is crazy. He's missing a face and everything. I like the adventure version, though. He's really cool and cute looking. But also, just as I mentioned before, you can use a lot of different things for the teeth, and so I'm going to go with Marshmallow. Marshmallow is sort of the one that I believe shrinks down the smallest out of the Ice Cube, Sugar Cube, and Marshmallow. So we copied that numerous times for the teeth right here and put those below the stamp. And Pimple is going to be for the red parts of the eyes, and a letter I down the middle of all of that. And so this here will be a treat for anybody who saw my Five Nights at Freddy's 4 Halloween DLC episode, because of course you may remember that we created Nightmare Mangle in that one, of course, because Nightmare Mangle was obviously in the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 Halloween DLC. And so Adventure Mangle is going to follow somewhat suit of that, because we started off with a nanobot as the source object, just like in the Halloween DLC. I put a tofu into the middle, basically to be sort of the main part of the body, and then we've kept the nanobot's legs on, but you can see that there is a foot down on the farthest foot that's over to our left. It's the kind of rightmost Mangle foot for Mangle. Sticky hands are these hands, and there's an electronic attaching the hand over to our left, but then there's an octopus piece, so it's like an octopus tentacle over for the hand on the right. And I just placed down a bow tie. This is going to be an important kind of placement for that. We may be moving it around a little bit, but here you can take this kind of straight tentacle piece of an octopus. These will be sort of like for that almost endoskeleton torso thing that's kind of coming off of the Mangle body, the Mangle base. And so for the palms of the hands, we're going to use glue and paint that pink, of course. And I didn't mention before, but not only is that foot right there for that foot that's to our left, but this foot that's kind of in the bottom middle has a mola or sunfish as the sort of base of the foot, the main part. And then those 3 little pink toes come from a golem. Just take that shoulder piece and shrink it down a lot. Now, Mangle does have another foot, so we will get to that in just a second. I just need to make sure that I'm moving around all the pieces and things correctly. We'll also go into the scripting just to get that over with, but hopefully I'm going to have enough stamp pieces to get that other foot down. We're going to make it so that it can be sat upon, but more importantly can wear sunglasses and things like that. We want it to be able to wear things. And so I want it to just sort of a nod for Scott when he had that FNaF World trailer where Adventure Mangle is playing with the paddle ball. You know, I want to allude to that, and so basically make Mangle play with some toys in its behavior, so it'll use paddle balls or toys. And so everything looks pretty good here, so we'll add in that other leg and put a foot on it, so type in FOOT for that, and we've got a little 29-page library arm shape just to be the line where the toes are and stuff on the foot, and that'll be good. So one thing to know with this Adventure Mangle head is that a big distinction on it is that we're not going to be making it so that it's worn on the face like glasses, we're going to be making it worn on the head like a hat actually instead. We want it to be higher up. That's the reason, because the nanobot, you can't move the head of the nanobot high enough for it to really look accurate, and so that's why this Adventure Mangle head needs to be worn on the head like a hat, not like glasses. So now that you've taken note, that's basically just like our Funtime Foxy head that we created, or like our regular Foxy or any of those. It's very similar. 29-page library, straight arms from the 20th page, top right corner. Those are the two lip parts for the lipstick. An eyebrow is going to be for the curvature of the lip next to teeth, which are the teeth. Doe, or you could use the almighty Utapam, is going to be for the snout kind of base, and then a puck is going to be for the little nose, and then fins are going to be for either side of the cheek hairs, golem shoulder pieces for the pink of the eyes, that's on the outside, and then as well as the black and the white inner parts, grass for the hair, whiskers for the eyelashes, a ball is going to be for the eye pupils, the white one and the black one on either side, seed 4 times for the ears, and a pearl for the yellow eye color, I guess, for the left eye to our right, and a pimple is going to be for the white glimmer or glisten in that very same eye. So again, just a reminder, under the equipment tab, be sure that it is worn on the head like a hat, not worn on the face like glasses, just for this particular item. Okay, and now we're starting off with the glue as the source object, and this is going to be for the Adventure Mangle Endo head. That is a mouthful, I know. But, of course, ADV is abbreviated for the word adventure. And we've taken that same straight piece of the octopus's tentacles. It's kind of in the top, middle, back tentacle of the octopus. And that's going to be for the lips, I guess you could call it. Just kind of the upper and the bottom mouth parts of the endoskeleton here. And a scorpion, the top, middle part of its tail, is going to be for the teeth on this endoskeleton head. And you can clearly see that we're using a lot of them. So you're going to have to copy and paste them a bunch of times and then put them up and down, and you'll probably have to resize to get them because they will be off of the kind of quote-unquote grid. A glue actually is a stamp that doesn't have the green grids on it or anything. If anybody has seen my episodes, they know what I'm talking about. But basically, to put it off the original glue stamp, sometimes the game limits how far you can move things up or down or to the sides off of the object that you're editing. So that's all I'm referring to. And a puck is going to be sort of for this attachment piece. It's almost like the neck or whatever, but it's going to attach our sort of endo head to the Mangle body. Of course, hopefully you noticed 2 hemispheres were for the eye. To our left, it's right. Once again, a pearl for the yellow part within that eye, a ball for the black part, and a pimple for the glimmer or glisten. The letter I down the middle, and a ball on the other side for the black socket, I guess, eye, the missing eyeball. So here we go. Since it was glue as the source object for that endo head, we can actually put it now onto our Mangle, which we also put the head on. So it looks like it all came together pretty well, which is great and exciting. I only wish my voice wasn't strained like this to give more excitement about that. I do really like how that turned out, though. And look, we even gave it a paddle. Yes. Believe me, I won't forget that. So here we go, taking our Adventure Foxy design, and we're going to change it up for the Adventure Withered Foxy. And so Golem's thigh piece is going to be for our Foxy shorts here, and we're actually doing this because the shorts are a little bit shorter. We did have like an iguanodon bicep on, and so that is actually longer and thinner, and so we don't want as much of the shorts, I guess, showing, or we want them to just be a little bit shorter and puffed out a little more. So that looks good. All these tornado pieces and grass and stuff like that are going to be for the rips and tears within the shorts, and so we're going to make sure and color these little legs right here, make sure that they're all colored good now that we can kind of see a little bit of that mecha leg, because this is a mecha as the source object for anybody who saw my originals episode, number 140 once again. So far that's looking okay. We're going to need to make a few more adjustments to tie everything together, although look, we just ran out of stamp space, so it looks like this is going to do it for most of the withering and things like that. So hopefully you noticed that we did add an Irish moss right there. We've separated the torso from the body just basically by shrinking the torso. And I didn't mean from the body, I meant from the hips kind of area, you know. So the upper and the lower parts of the body are separated. And Irish moss is just for the kind of rips and things at the bottom. And regular moss is for the rips kind of across the chest. There was also some recoloring involved because Adventure Withered Foxy is a little bit darker than the regular Adventure Foxy is. And so you can see the head is pretty similar. We could just copy and paste our Foxy head, but of course recolor it. And I did flip the eyes to be horizontal rather than vertical. So hopefully you can see that right here. The golem pieces were flipped. And of course I added this piece of a tornado here above his eye that does not have the eye patch. You can see me highlighting it right now. And also recolored the ear that is right next to that, because that ear is supposed to look all robotic-y. So the little fangs, those two fangs I should say, this was also on our mangle head. Those were just the bottom fin of a goldfish, so you can see them here on our Adventure Withered Foxy as well. But there they all are, the Withereds. I do appreciate how they turned out. I think a lot of people wanted this to see the mangle. I think that was kind of the one that most of you probably were curious on how we would create it, because the Withereds have been asked for a while. So, just a quick announcement, this Sunday's video is a special collaboration video. Basically, all that I can really reveal about it is me and another YouTuber are going to be fusing our two universes together in a special collaboration, and I hope that everybody enjoys it. Again, that's all I should say and all I can say, but you will see it this Sunday. But anyway, I want to thank you for your attention, and at the risk of straining my voice any further, I'll just end it off here by saying I appreciate all of you, and I will catch you on the next vid, and thanks for viewing.
Down the road of twists and turns, always anxious to see what's within. We can look ahead to the point of no return, to the rest of our lives with the spectacle begins. I've been down the road of twists and turns, always anxious to see what's within. We can look ahead to the point of no return, to the rest of our lives with the spectacle begins.